So I'm not going to do my introduction. That way we can just get to the content of today. I know there was a lot of things that I did leave out of Powwow stuff. I wish I could have put in there. But this one, we're going to shift gears a little bit to culture, some practices from our indigenous communities from the other side of basically the continent. So what I want to do is just basically give you an idea that a little bit about what we do as Southeastern peoples and what you're going to see on Saturday in terms of the dance. Now, who came last year to the Stomp dance that we did? To most of us, I see some hands. Well, maybe about a third of us came. How many of you have ever seen a Stomp dance before? Okay, all right. Well, that helps. I'm glad. You don't have to raise your hands twice. So this is this particular dance is actually the social part of an actual religion, an actual culture. The way that I say it when I'm teaching a class is I'll say a religious articulation of a community. This is only one small piece of that kind of religion, just for a lack of a better term, because even calling it religion is not really even appropriate, because the way that we look at that is it's our way of life. It's integrated in everything that we do. Every word that we say, how we talk to our elders, how we talk to our children, how we talk to each other, and even some of the things that we may not even say, because we believe in one of the core characteristics in our Muskogean culture is one of Iaskida, which is humbleness. And I was told by my elders that our way of life is so simple that all of our religion, everything you can pull under your arm, and you can go somewhere else and take it somewhere else, because we don't want to inconvenience other people if there's a difference of opinion. That's how simple our way of life is. And so that's kind of what you're going to see a little bit of. This particular dance is commonly known as Stomp dance. It is something that primarily for us that descend from what we call mound builder cultures, this was a part of our cosmology and our religion. For us in Muskogean beliefs, that this is the dance that we do as we're doing our medicinal practices. The way that I was told is that they would say we have to keep ourselves awake when we're doing those practices, so that we'll start maybe at daybreak, usually on a Saturday, and we won't rest until we're done, which is sometimes Sunday. Now, for a small dance, it's not really that cumbersome, maybe just 2 days. But for our biggest festival, which is what we call the Ajulani and Boskida, which is a green corn fast, it actually will go Thursday through Sunday. And so there's intermittent times of fasting where we don't touch food or water. And even once we get to the last part of that, we don't even sleep for a couple of days. So it's our religion, it's our way of life. But the dance that you're going to see is a social part of that. So I want to just real briefly, I'll draw it on the marker board. That's why we had to shift a little bit about what it looks like. But this dance itself is shared by, how shall we say, an intertribal community. Creek people, Muskogee people aren't the only ones that do this particular dance. Yuchi people do this dance. Cherokee people do this dance. Shawnee people do this dance. Delaware people do this dance. Even Caddos from time to time will do this particular dance. Did I say Delawares? Even Delawares will do this dance. So a lot of us that really come from the eastern part of what is now the United States kind of have a piece of this dance. Usually what you'll see, now what I'm going to describe to you is kind of the Muskogean version. But those of our tribes that are real close together, a lot of the rules are basically the same, because we're neighbors, we kind of know how things go. But I wanted to let you know that, like I said, it's not just something that we just go out and do. This is something that we have a high respect for, even though it's a social dance, So like one of the things that we always try to avoid in our ways. Now, I say this tongue in cheek, but in all the rules that I've been told, our laws is what they would say, our ceremonial ground, is that we don't ever bring around any type of substances that will alter your ability to think, either drugs or alcohol or things like that. And so we're always protective, and we make sure that we don't have that in these environments. Now, this particular dance that we're going to do Saturday, it's not the ceremony. It's just a social dance. It's I don't use the term exhibition because even that gets some criticism from our people. It's just an expression, is what I'll say. But we still abide by those rules because the things that we bring, we're reverent with those. And so you might see someone bringing their shells or their cans. You might see someone, you might even have seen me, I'll have feathers on my hat. We don't bring those around, those types of substances, because it's kind of, just for lack of a better term, it's sacrilegious. We don't believe in that. We try to keep pure when we do that dance. And even the songs that we sing throughout the night, we really think they're special. And depending on who the leader is, they'll be saying different things in our particular language, in our Muskogee language, that's either talking about what's on their heart, what their hopes are, or maybe even saying something that's just like a funny story. It kind of depends on that leader. But I will say, in this day and age, we're getting to a time when less and less stomp dance leaders are using our language in those songs. But I want to give you an idea just briefly on where it comes from. These come from, for us, from actually our ceremonial grounds. Like I said, we had at one time, close to 100 tribal towns when we were in our homelands. They say that when we came over here to Oklahoma, there was just over 50 of our tribal towns that each had their own fire. They brought their embers with them, which was an entire intricate process that had to be done during that time of dispossession from our territories, but we brought it to Oklahoma, and we still have that culture today. And so those tribal towns are now in Oklahoma. So for myself, I served a Halibi, Kaniti, Chobothako is what they say, Chobothakoji is what they would say, ceremonial ground, which is near Hanna, Oklahoma, which I don't know if anybody knows where Hanna, Oklahoma is. It's about this big, literally. That's where we are. My son Josiah, that's where we are members of, and we serve the people there. And many of you know I have a position amongst our people in that community. Today, the way that they say that, now this is Muskogee people. We have a few of our Cherokee grounds, we have a few Yuchi grounds, and even one that's considered Seminole, but that's another lecture for another day. I don't know, if I have time, I might explain that a little bit. But they say today, around 14 of these tribal towns are still functioning. Their fire hasn't gone dormant or whatever that we classified as, they're still functioning. Now I say that 14 because on any given year, because of death or sicknesses or what have you, which we all have a protocol that we have to follow, if someone passes on or something's going on, it may prevent us from doing our ceremonies and dancing for an entire year. So depending on that, what I would say over the past 10 years is that usually there's only around 8 or 9 ceremonial grounds that are actually dancing in any given year. Which for me, I was told that I don't count. I'm not supposed to count and say there's only 9, or you only have 10 members that are coming to touch medicine and do these things. Is that I'm not supposed to do that. Everybody, whether it's 1,000 or 10, I'm supposed to treat the same and never say it's only this, because it takes away from the integrity of the people that are there and everything that we're doing. So any given year, usually around 9. But I want you to get an idea of what a ceremonial ground looks like. Now, aside from Lauren and our relatives here, Josiah, who's actually been to a full-fledged stomp ground during an actual ceremony or a time like that? Where have y'all been? Rodney, where you been?
I'm sorry. We go to the South Ground Lilex.
Lilex, okay. How about you?
My mom worked at Glenpool for a long time as Indian education director, so
Okay.
she had, I went with her a lot to Muskogee, and they had one for their high school too.
Okay, a dance.
Yeah.
So what we usually do, like in the schools and the gymnasiums, are the dances. There's actual ceremonial grounds that exist where you kind of have to go out into the country. Usually they're fenced off a little bit from the general public. We try to protect them and make sure that no one comes in and in essence, desecrates that territory. So I'm gonna just draw this picture up here. I didn't make any slides, so forgive me. I'm all boring, and I just ran out of time, and they don't pay me enough, I guess. But I want you to see this, because what we're gonna do Saturday is gonna be kind of almost like a small kind of example of the same thing. We're kind of going to do the same thing. So usually, like I said, this is from Muskogean point of view. Usually what you'll see is a circle, which this is a mound circle. And this is really the point of not segregation, but just demarcation of just knowing that once you come into here, we're asking that people abide by the rules and the laws of a particular dance. Now, when we actually touch our medicine or doing the actual religious practices, that's when we actually try to purge our entire mental and spirits and saying everything that takes away from life. We don't even bring it onto the property. Disappointment, anger, all of these things. We ask that you have a level of forgiveness. And the way that we say that in our speeches is we say, before you come through that gate, we want you to be of sound mind. And even more so, before you come into this circle, or the way that we say it is a boskova, which is the inside, because it's been swept and we keep it clean. Now, most of our grounds will have this particular ring around the dance area, but some of the older ones, now not everyone is like this, will have even a secondary one that kind of goes like this. And for us at Halebi, that's kind of our case. In our particular tribal town, we have our central fire, which is right here. And I put that with that image because today, if you ever, I don't know if there's any archaeology majors or people like that, ethno-historians, that kind of thing. If you look at some of the effigies and images that come out of our mound structures back in the southeastern part of the U.S., what is now the U.S., you'll see this image time and time again. And it's to represent our fire and the four directions, the four logs that we put down on that fire. And so Saturday, I usually try to do that for us when we do exhibition dance, is we'll try to put that out there and we'll put a little, we can't have a real fire, but we'll do a light just so that we can kind of demarcate that. But they represent these directions here that we're going into. Now there's a bigger story and a bigger cosmology because those are aligned to this direction, and we'll say this is the east of here. I switched markers on accident. The east. And for those of you that have studied indigenous cultures, know that no matter, or in many circumstances, that's always a sacred direction of east. Now we all know different communities, different indigenous peoples, they have different ways in their cosmology of doing different things. Some do all four directions. It kind of just depends. But for us, as Southeastern people, everything that we'll do, we kind of face the east. So like even today, if I'm here talking to you, to each one of you, I should be doing, I believe that's east right that way. I should be talking this way, and you guys would be looking at me. But we're in a building, we're in the building goes this way, so it doesn't work out that way. But for us, you'll see arbors that are set up here, and in this one is called the Mikogi or the Miko's arbor. And everything that they do will face that sacred direction because that's where the first light comes up. That's where it breaks the horizon. And for us, that's everything because that light represents life. That light represents the continuation of indigenous peoples. It's the birth of everything. And even we're to understand that as something that is holy because we've made it to another day in creation, which they say that because too many times we take it for granted that, oh yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow's not ever guaranteed to anybody, or we might not see each other. So we know when we make it to that moment when the sun's coming up, that it's special, that the creator or the spiritual being, however you understand them, has brought us there. And it's kind of like a joy, a miracle. And we could do anything we want. So we dance until the morning time. Now, there's a host of things that I probably won't talk about too much. You know, like I said, for us, it's an actual religion. So when we come into this environment, we take medicine, we wash up, we do things like that. I won't say what or how, but it's a way of purifying our bodies in preparation for the night and for the dance, but even in preparation for when we leave the ceremonial ground. It gives us the strength that we have so that we can go out into this world with all of the obstacles that exist there. And so it's preparing us for that. So we always think about how important it is that we provide this and we make sure we keep on going for all of our people, for our children. And in fact, one of the rules that I was told is that it's not even for the people the adults, the grown-ups that come here to dance. Everything that we're doing are for those that have yet to be even born yet. It's theirs, it belongs to them. And I was even told that there was a prophecy that was said that these little ones will come up to you and they'll ask you, what did you do to bring the culture to me? They'll ask, what did you do so that we could have our way of life? And I'm hoping that when that day comes, when my grandson, Josiah's nephew, comes up and says, Papa, what did you do for me? I said, here's everything. I'll pass it on to you. In fact, we're already doing that. He's not even 2 years old. He's starting to sing some of our sacred songs already. He knows how to shake that shoga, which we might bring it Saturday. I'll show you. We'll do those kind of things. He's already preparing for that way of life. So I share this because Saturday, we'll make a mini version of this in the student union. Is that where we're at? Student union. So we kind of put the chairs around. And I put this up here because on a dance, when it's open and people are coming throughout the night, we don't usually start this dance, the real deal, until usually around the midnight hour or so. Give or take 30 minutes, give or take 45. You know, we don't operate off of clocks. You know, we operate when everything's in accord, when everyone's ready, when everything's at peace, so to speak. So on this particular, let's say we're here at a ceremonial ground, you'll have visitors that come in. And these visitors, they will always sit in a group. And usually that group represents another tribal town, another ceremonial ground. They'll all kind of sit together. And you might see a little version of that Saturday night, because even at indoor dances, we kind of do that. And so each one of them will have an appointed leader, or perhaps maybe their Miko might come. So the way that they sit at Halevi, I'm just going to go around over here and just kind of tell you what I see. So we might have a Greenleaf ceremonial ground. We might have Will Gufke or Peach Ground ceremonial ground, the two over here. Maybe Chiaha or Gar Creek ceremonial ground, or maybe Ojiabova Hickory Ground, or Arbika will sit over here. Over here we'll have Thugil Golka, which is a fish pond ceremonial ground. And if no one else is dancing, sometimes you'll have about 300 or 400 people total. That's all there, kind of coming in and out. And there's not even any room to fit in that Boskova or in the ring. I share that because when we start dancing, we'll have, for us on Saturday, we'll just have one person. Now, I usually put my son to work, but I don't want to overwork him. So usually I'll ask a helper who will go around and pick leaders. They'll go and ask like to each group. Now, we'll kind of be like that Saturday, but most likely they're not going to be actual ceremonial grounds or towns that will be at a dance like this. Not everybody goes to indoor dances like this. They'll go to each one and they'll bring out the leader. They'll ask, that person will go and ask who wants to be first, and usually what happens is everybody starts pointing at each other. He wants to go first, he wants to go first, and there's like a little argument going on. And so I told my son, I said, usually what they do is they have a stick and they just touch you on the foot. And as soon as they touch you, that's the agreement. You're next, no matter what. You know, they don't even have to ask, really. You're next. And I stopped there because someone might say, well, I don't know how to lead, or I don't sing the songs very well. Well, there's no good or bad in our way of life. Is that someone might come out and just sing for 30 seconds. Someone might come out and sing for 15 minutes. Is the way that we look at that is all equal in the eyes of our Creator. It's all good, and it's a blessing. So that no matter what, how long that leader may sing, all of these arborists, after the song, after they've led and they go back to sit down, everyone says, Mado, thanking them for coming out. Because in this dance, no matter how long it is, they have helped the members get through the night. They've helped them stay awake just a little bit longer so that they can make it to that sunrise, so to speak. So it's always appreciated, no matter what. And the way that the late Felix Gouge was one of, I don't want to say a mentor, but he was, we had a relationship with him before he passed on. He would say that the way that we understand this, when that person, it's called an indokbala or dokbalogi, when he goes around asking people to lead, he said, that dokbala is an extension of this chief that sits here. So he's going out representing that chief everywhere. And that chief sits in this seat right here that the Creator has appointed at that moment for him to be there. And he is representing that Creator being. And that Creator being is the one that ultimately is asking, will you help us out? Will you lead one for us? Will you come and be here? And so it's really a special thing that we try to protect and do what's right for all the people, because that's the responsibility, protecting that connection that we have with creation and the Creator. Now, that's the ceremony. We still kind of think it's that way when we do an indoor dance. You know, oh, we should say, well, I'm here to help. I'm here to do the best that I can. And so maybe some of you young men, I know we got some leaders here who have helped me in the past, that we always try to do what we can. And all of us that know how to lead and sing those songs, at least on the men's part, we can pinpoint the very first time we finally said, yes, I'll come out here and lead a dance. And we all can say we were about to throw up before we did that. We were as nervous as everybody. And the next thing you know, 30 years have gone by. The next thing you know, when you get out there, you start singing. And you might even start having tears in your eyes because you're realizing, number one, how life has gone fast. And that how there was a time when you danced with people who aren't here physically anymore. You start thinking about those things. And someone like myself, I do that every time. Because for me, I'll say, Nita Ojin Idok Galega Obunga Hajo, which means there's a day that's coming when all of us will dance again. Because I'm thinking about my grandpa, because he was a Mikogi of Gar Creek Ceremonial Ground. He was the second chief there. And he passed away untimely when I was young. And I wish we had more time to be together. And so I say that when I get out there. And a lot of stuff that I say talks about this is our way of life. This is our culture. And we're happy with this way of life. It's kind of telling the rest of the world this is all that we need to succeed. So that's a little bit of the structure. When a leader comes out, usually they'll all come through, there'll be a little wave, and they'll come out. And the way that we know that is we'll have a guy, girl, male, female, until all the group comes out. You might see that Saturday. If they're sitting with their friends or family or relatives, they all might come out to support whoever's been picked. Usually it's customary to wait till they all come around and start walking around the fire like this before we join in with them. So if we're like a visitor and we're like sitting here, and this goes for Saturday night too, just wherever, we wait till they get all situated with the shell shakers and the singers, and then we'll all fall in single file behind them, however spot we have. It is usually customary that the children kind of are the tail end. And part of that is because we don't want anybody to get hurt. This is so pure of a dance we don't want a child to, even when we have a fire, we don't want them for sure to fall in the fire or harm themselves or trip or someone step on them, because we're so protective of them. We don't want them to have one negative feeling while they're at a stomp dance. We don't want them to ever say, I don't want to go back there again. In fact, we want the opposite. We want them bugging their mom and dad, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles. When are we going? When are we going back to the grounds? When are we going back to the ceremonial grounds? And in fact, Josiah can attest to this. It's kind of how they are. When are we going back? Daddy, when are we going back? And my truck says take a break in the summertime or in the wintertime, because I put on about 40,000 miles going back and forth, whether I'm going to Tahlequah or to Vian, or whether I'm going to Kellyville Polecat, whether I'm going to Hilebi or another ceremonial ground in our area. Literally 30,000 miles in the summertime. But they'll come out, and so customarily, the men are the ones that are deemed the task of singing, of providing the vocals during that moment. Now, that does not mean that the women of the community do not ever sing. Is that we still have a moment, especially in the fall, when we have our ball games and the ball game songs that are sung by the women of a tribal town. So that still happens. I've had a person come up and ask me, he said, you mean you don't let just the men are the only ones to sing? I had to deconstruct that assumption. It took me a long time. And then I taught. I said, when you have a culture that hasn't been founded in gender bias, gender violence, it's different, and you have to approach it that way. But when they come in, they're deemed the ones to kind of do the vocals, primarily. The ones that come in with them are the ones that are the music makers, the indigenous women of the community. And so, Lauren, I don't know if you have your, oh, they're right here. I didn't even see them. Is it okay if I touch them?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just gonna set them up so everybody can see.
You can do a quick little,
Are you sure?
They're a little bit more dull, but like, say if they were like, it's really what's inside of them. A lot of them are river rocks a lot of times. Used to be, it would be broken pieces of pottery mixed in with gravel rocks. That would be up.
So, the women of the community are the ones that make the music. And the way that they would say it is that, we can't dance without the music, without the harmony that comes there. And I point this out because it's not indigenous culture that says, well, this is first and the one behind you is second, so it's least important. That's not our culture. Is that both have leaders. So you will have a head shell shaker and you'll have a head singer that's coming out, a lead singer that's coming out. And both of them have equal standing with each other. And in fact, that's what this symbolizes, is that everyone that comes in there is of the same value and same worth. And I've had people kind of misunderstand, like, oh, we got to do this or we want to do this. But they're just as important. And who said that they weren't? What piece of society that we live in say that, that there's a less than? Because that's not how we believe things. We believe, in fact, the visitor, that these elders over here that sit in these arbors, they believe that they're the last of importance out of everybody else that's there. That's our way. And so they'll come out, and the women will be making the music. Now, I will make mention, because you'll see two different things. Now, I know one person for sure that's going to be here Saturday. She'll have her turtle shells on. Now, usually we reserve kind of those turtle shells for the actual ceremony, for the actual tribal town when we're there, like when we're in Hannah, Oklahoma, or Henrietta, or someplace like that. But some only wear those when they dance. Others will wear cans like these here. So my daughters will do both, so that when there's a special dance that they do when we're taking medicine for the green corn, that kind of thing, they'll only wear shells on. But then there's other times when you look over and they'll actually switch them out during the night, and they'll put their cans back on, and they'll wear cans. So it kind of just depends on the person, the family, and the tribal town they come from. Because there was a day and time when some of our ceremonial grounds said no cans were allowed. I think we still have one in Cherokee country that I I think that's the rule of Stokes Smith. Is anybody? I had been told that. I don't know the truth of that. But even I've also known that some of these books out there had even said that about Halevi. That we were ultra conservative and would only allow turtle shells. And we allow either one, so it doesn't matter which dance that is. So they'll be bringing those out, bringing the music, and I always share. And we'll depend on how we'll see how the night goes on Saturday. I might even bring them out and demonstrate for everybody, because depending on how many cans they have or how many turtle shells they have on their legs, these things can weigh quite a bit. And we're actually, if you're actually going to an actual dance, you might find yourself being out here dancing for about 5 or 6 hours. And even, we've had 2 indoor dances so far, one in December and one just last weekend. We danced for like 4 hours straight, wasn't it, Joe? It was like 4 hours. And I was sitting like, man, if we were here at the actual ceremonial ground, it would be almost sunup by the time we stopped. But I say that because these music makers, the Lojo Shabana, what they would say is these persons, they dance with those all night long. And even it's something that I don't even say it's a way that we can teach it. It's just like you just got to do it. You just put them on and start dancing. So that like my daughters, even my youngest one who's 11, she's been doing that since she was like 3. I don't know if you would say that was torture or not. We just strap it on them and they just start walking around. And I can't demonstrate how to do it. You'll see that on Saturday. But when I start doing it, everybody makes fun of me and they laugh. I said, they go like this. I said, Dad, we don't do that. I said, what are you doing up there? But all of these is what we'll see on Saturday. There are special songs that we have, and depending on the amount of leaders that we have visiting, how many people that are here, we might incorporate some special dances. You know, we have a guinea dance, we have a double header, we have a bean dance. I like singing that bean dance song because this is the only time of year before we can't sing it in the spring and summer. We have to wait till fall or winter. And we don't dance in the winter. So really you have a small window where we might sing it just one time a year. And there's not even a guarantee that we do that. So I like to do that at these dances. So we try to break them out from time to time. And it kind of depends, the way I was told is that it kind of is a way of honoring those different entities, those different animals, you know, the different things that we have in life, like our food and these things coming from Mother Earth. And we're always mindful that she's the one that has birthed us. We're always mindful that she's the one that has brought us to this point. And so we think about those things, and that bean dance too is just a real pretty song. It's real beautiful. And you know, I kind of like it. I said, I can't just listen to it once a year. I said, I have to hear it, because it really, for me, it tells me how beautiful our way of life is, our cultures, indigenous peoples. And you know, it's just something that illuminates that. And to the point of almost like what I would say is it haunts me. And I can't not think about our way of life and the things we stand for, your ancestors, your elders. So this dance is what we'll be doing Saturday. We still kind of ask that we respect the rules of this ring here, meaning that, of course, no drugs, alcohol, which is a university event. I think that's our policy too, right? So I still make that announcement, but it's university policy. But we also say that for those during this time, that those that might be going through maybe their monthly cycle, we ask that you might just refrain from dancing out here. We'll ask that maybe you can just visit, be out here and watch. And part of that is because we believe that that is a special process in the human body, because it's a life-giving process. And that takes an energy and a medicine that is so strong, so powerful. We have to be reverent around it. We have to be cautious and take care of those persons that are going through that moment in time. So we ask that maybe they just, kind of just refrain from dancing out here. It's too powerful for us. So we ask those kinds of things. We have those rules, and then just general respect. You know, since this is not what we're going to see Saturday, is not the actual ceremony. We just ask that maybe you just keep an eye on things and make sure everyone's being respectful, because you're going to have elders here, you're going to have children here, you're going to have people who normally would not be on campus, and that's special. That's important. Now, I don't know if I should say why I say that. Okay, I will. Wait, how much time we got first? Okay, we got a few minutes and some questions. Because I was at that other university doing a dance in the fall. Now, y'all know what university I'm in? That one south of here. And we were doing our thing, like I always do, up there, microphone, doing our dances. There was a host of students, mainly males, from that other Indian club. I don't use the term Indian, but the other club. And they were cutting up, cussing, carousing right behind me. And I didn't even know it. And I felt that was disrespectful, because I had elders that came there because I asked them to be there, to sing, to dance, to show the people a little bit of something of who we are. And they were just carrying on like that. In fact, people came up to me and told me and kind of complained. So that's all I ask, is that we try to be respectful, because these are guests. These are visitors. Some of them, you know, we have a friend of ours. Now, I think they're related to our basketball player, our indigenous basketball player on the team here at OSU. But they live like, I think Boston live like 4 miles from the Kansas border or something like that. And they come to every dance. And there's a chance they'll be here this week. They come a long way for each of you, so that you can see a little something, maybe hear a little something. Maybe you come from one of those tribes, Chickasaw people, Delaware people, Creek people, Seminole people, Cherokee people, Yuchi people. Maybe you might have some of that in your lineage. And maybe you might hear some of these stories and some of these songs that we're singing about, so that somehow it'll keep connecting you to your own DNA, to your own spirit, to who you are. And they all believe in that. That's why we're here. Because, and I said this in the fall too when we did the Stomp or the powwow class, we want you to succeed in your education. We don't want it to be hard. We don't want you to have to be away from your family and your people. So guess what? We're going to come on campus, and we're going to sing, and we're going to dance. We call this bunga hajo, or bunga hajo, this type of dance. And what that means is you're dancing, but you're kind of like going crazy, because they say that it got that name because you've been up for like 30 hours, you know, fasting and whatnot. So when you get to about 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, all of a sudden the whole world, it's almost like a dream. And you're out there just cutting up and dancing. And that's kind of what that Obunga Hajo means. And that's the name of the Stomp dance, Obunga Hajo. And we're going to come here and hopefully have a good time, and to just kind of bless and support you as you go through school. Even though I should be saying that at the end of the semester, it's only January or almost February. We're just at the beginning. But that's okay. We'll give you the strength what you need for midterms and finals. So I smashed a lot, and my drawing's not the best, but I could keep drawing, I guess. But I wanted you to see a little illustration of that Stomp dance. There's more I could say. There's a lot more that we don't talk about unless we're actually in the ceremony. Things that we do, some things we only say in Muskogee language, those kinds of things that goes on. But for this particular dance, that's basically what we're hoping to accomplish, what we're hoping to do. So I'll pause there and see if 15 minutes if there's any questions. Well, since I wanted to do something here, and I mentioned that other school to the south, which my wife is a graduate of, and we're actually boosters down there. I've been asking for about 4 years for someone to get me something with orange and black on it. For 4 years, I don't know if y'all know this young man right here, Josiah. It's my son. He's actually graduating in May, if all goes well. Got my fingers crossed. So I said, I had to go and buy something myself. I said, I went online and I bought this. I wanted to show it off because of how proud I am of him, but of all of you. Because that's why I come up here and try to, I didn't have to fight traffic today. Sky and I, we had a meeting earlier today, and it was actually a smooth drive. I think it was an hour and 8 minutes. Last time it was an hour and 40 minutes when I came up here. This is why, because I support each one of you. So I'm breaking this out, Josiah, and I just might wear it Saturday night. Now, I don't know, I might have to put an OU hat on too. I don't know. But we're real happy with everyone that we've encountered on campus for these years, and it's our pleasure. Like everyone, we're just so happy that we could do that dance last year. It was more just a exhibition type thing last year, so this was the first time, probably, I want to say in 8 years, that one's been held on campus on Saturday, like an indoor dance. I think the sorority held one years ago. We came up and helped with that, and that was before, I think, Josiah, were you in junior high or high school? High school. We came up then to help out a little bit, but we're looking forward to it. So any questions? How's it look?
Wonderful.
It don't have no black on it though, so it's all right though. All right.
Okay, so my-
Anything else, Lauren? Did I forget anything that I should include?
I will say sometimes, it's not very common, but there's sometimes when you're dancing and somebody can't dance anymore. And the protocol for that, usually, like if I've seen a woman jump out, you jump in front of the place where that woman or where that man would have been. So it's like you're not replacing their spot, but you're dancing for them in their spirit as well. I don't know if you've heard anything different or seen anything different.
No, that's good. What about you, Josiah? Anything that I forgot that you'd like for me to cover?
Each ground has their own rules
Okay.
and laws.
So I briefly alluded to that, just briefly, but I didn't go into great detail. But everyone, so let's just say these squares are different ceremonial grounds. Some of their members will be here Saturday. Everyone kind of has their own rules, their own laws that they go by. And so for me, like even a dance indoor, it's really controversial these days. People are saying, well, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. So, well, this is just a social dance. It's not our medicine. It's not our sacred songs. We have sacred songs that we don't sing anywhere but inside this ring, this Boskova. And the way that I do it is that my grandfather, who would be over 100 right now if he was still here, is that he was doing these in the 70s for the tribal communities for their festivals. And I know exactly what was on his heart. It was in hopes of that the children would have something and see something. That was their own culture. And if it was okay for him to do that 50 years ago, it's going to be okay for me to do that. And even today, we have a lot of elders who were around supporting us, because even me, I still feel like a kid. We had elders that came and did this, Leon Bell, David Proctor, all these persons up there, first language speakers, Roman Hill, different ones who would be the MCs and do these dances, but they've kind of all passed on. And even some of them, we lost a lot of people during the pandemic. And so it's almost like overnight, we looked around and there's just a couple of us still standing that will do these. And no one will say anything. I wrestle with the Muskogee Nation government all the time. I'm like, oh. And they know. They said, we can't tell you what to do, Chuan. That's your right. I said, I know. But even they kind of get flaky sometimes. Like we can't, they won't let the tribal, what do they call those? Community centers. They won't let us use those community centers for a dance like this. Although they still have one at their festival too. So ask me why, I don't know. But we do what we can, because here's what I say. We never know when a young person might put on these cans or these shells for the first time in their life and dance. We never know when a young man or someone might come up and lead for the first time in their life. And we never know when there's going to be a young child, a baby, or somebody who comes and hears these songs for the first time in their life. And as for me, I'm always going to try to provide as many opportunities as I can that they hear those things, that they can do those things, in hopes that it's like a finger or an arrow that points back to our way of life and whatever they're going through. But like I said, I could keep going. That's probably another class. I could keep talking about our histories and stuff. But yeah. So any other questions? Yes, Lauren.
Were you alluding to Staley's grandma being here
Who?
on Saturday? Staley's
Maybe.
Okay.
They might. Maryland and
I
Boston.
know that Maryland's coming. She works with my mom.
Okay.
At Grove.
We saw Boston, I don't know what it's called, step grandpa, on Saturday, and we made mention. So the way that we say it too, we don't ever say, hey, you should come. We just let them know what's going on, because we don't want them to feel bad if they can't make it. So, but yeah, it'd be great if they can make it. And we know a lot of people are talking about it and excited about it. And of course, it's on social media and all that good stuff. And I've been trying to press my members to be here as well. So yes.
I was like, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, Marilyn and her companion, they come all the way to Oklahoma City, Tecumseh, wherever.
Copan, don't be everywhere.
So, yeah, any other questions? Did I see another hand somewhere? Anybody? All right, is that good, Josiah? He won't ever say it, but this young man, he came in this ring with the men when he was 10 years old. He's been taking medicine and fasting for going on 13 years this season. And everything that was taught to me, he was right there beside me when it was being taught to me. And you got to hear that. So he's one of our singers. And really, I put him wherever I have someone listen. He's been at Doc Walla, he's been a singer, and even now our allied ceremonial ground, Tallahassee, Wagogai, utilizes him too for different things. And he won't ever say that, but he chooses to live that way of life, and I'm very thankful for that. He studies our language and does those types of things, and I'm hoping that all of our people will have that hunger for our culture. So we appreciate him and all his friends here. A lot of them, have come around the Stomp Dance these past few years and helped out here and there. And so we feel real good. And hopefully we can plant the seeds where it becomes normal to do this annually, every year. Because there's always going to be students from those tribal communities on campus from time to time. All right.